Picture this. A guy takes a stock worth basically nothing, builds this massive $100 million empire of pure lies, and then only serves 22 months in jail. And if that's not wild enough, Hollywood goes and makes a blockbuster movie about him, celebrating the whole thing. So yeah, let's dive into the absolutely incredible story of Jordan Belfort, the man who scammed America and somehow got famous for it.
And that really gets to the heart of his story, right? I mean, listen to his own words. Was he just, a product of his time, or was he something way more sinister? Let's get into it. So, our story doesn't start on Wall Street like you might think. Nope. It starts in Bayside, Queens, a pretty normal working-class neighborhood. But young Jordan Belfort, his ambitions were anything but normal. You can really see the DNA of the man he was going to become right from the start. I mean, at just 16 years old, he pulls in 20 grand in a single summer selling Italian ices. Not bad. Then he gives dental school a shot, but get this. He literally walks out on day one. Why? Because the dean tells the class that if they're there to get rich, they're in the wrong place. So his next big idea, a door-to-door meat business. And it was a total disaster. Went bankrupt fast. But that failure, that's what taught him his most important lesson.
Right there, in the middle of that failed meat business, he had this huge realization. It wasn't about the product. It didn't matter if it was steaks or surfboards or stocks. Who cares? The only thing that mattered was the pitch, the sell. And just like that, a salesman was born. So he finally makes it to Wall Street, lands a legit job, but then the market crash of '87, Black Monday, hits. And just like that, he's fired. Now, for most people, that would have been the end of the story, a total disaster. But for Jordan Belfort, this was the biggest opportunity of his life.
And that's when he stumbled upon the dirty little secret of the financial world, penny stocks. Now, this was the kind of stuff no serious broker would even touch. We're talking pink sheet garbage. Why? Because it's totally unregulated, super high risk. But for Jordan, these stocks had one magical, beautiful quality, a 50% commission. 50%. He could use the same pitch but make 10 times the money. The temptation was just too much. And this right here, this was the engine of his entire fraudulent empire, the classic pump and dump. It's a brutally simple 4-step scheme. Here's how it worked. Step 1, he and his guys would buy up massive amounts of some worthless stock for, pennies a share. Step 2, they'd unleash their army of brokers to pump it. They'd create this insane frenzy of fake hype, calling unsuspecting people, selling them a dream. Step 3, once all that hype sends the price soaring, they dump. They sell every single share they own, making an absolute killing. And step 4, well, the stock price craters, and every single one of those investors is left holding worthless paper. Just devastating. So with this scheme in hand, he founded Stratton Oakmont. I mean, the name alone sounds so prestigious, right? Like it's been around for a century. The reality? It was a boiler room in a freaking strip mall. And he didn't hire the usual Ivy League finance bros. Nope, he recruited hungry, desperate hustlers right off the street. He didn't need thinkers, he needed closers. And he gave them his secret weapon, the straight line persuasion technique. It was this whole system designed to totally control a conversation and corner a prospect, creating this insane sense of urgency and scarcity that was basically impossible to say no to. All right, so with that pump and dump machine just printing money, Stratton Oakmont absolutely exploded. And Jordan Belfort, well, he created a culture that had way less to do with finance and way more to do with pure, wild, over-the-top excess. The office just became this carnival of greed and testosterone. If you were a top seller, you were treated like a god. You got watches, cash, whatever you wanted. But if you were underperforming, you were publicly shamed. We're talking strippers in the conference room, mountains of cocaine, champagne flowing constantly. And this wasn't for a party. This was just a regular Tuesday. Jordan had basically become a cult leader in an Armani suit, and his only rule was get rich or get out. And you have to remember, all of that crazy excess was funded by real people. By the end of it all, the courts ordered Jordan to pay back $110 million to the thousands of people he scammed. So where did that $110 million go? Was it invested in building businesses? Of course not. It went to mansions and Lamborghinis. It went to a private helicopter. It bought him a 167-foot luxury yacht that he named after his wife, the Naomi. We're talking about a lifestyle so ridiculous, so over the top, it's literally the stuff of legend. But You know, an empire built on lies can't stand forever. As Stratton Oakmont got bigger and bigger, the crimes got too loud, too brazen, and just too reckless to hide from the feds.
He got a lot smarter about hiding the money, that's for sure. He'd call it asset protection. Sounds professional, right? But what it really was funneling millions and millions of dollars through Swiss bank accounts and a whole tangled web of shell companies. The FBI, well, they had a much simpler name for it: money laundering.
And at the exact same time, Belfort himself was just completely falling apart. His drug use was spiraling. He crashed his Ferrari while he was high on Quaaludes, with his little daughter in the car. He literally sank his own massive yacht by ignoring his captain and sailing straight into a huge Mediterranean storm. The wolf was losing his grip, big time.
And then it happened. One morning in October of 1996, it all came crashing down. Federal agents stormed the offices of Stratton Oakmont. They seized everything: documents, computers. They were ripping phones right off the desks. The party was officially and finally over.
But this is where the story takes its most unbelievable turn. For Jordan Belfort, getting caught wasn't the end. Oh no, it was just the beginning of Act 2.
So, he's facing decades in prison. We're talking wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering, the works. So what does Jordan do? He does what he does best. He sells. He makes a deal. He sold out his own guys, wore a wire for the FBI, and helped them indict over 30 of his own employees and partners. And the craziest part? Some of them ended up serving more time than he did. And what did he get for all that cooperation? His big reward? Just 22 months. And we're not talking about some hardcore federal prison. No. He went to a minimum security camp. You know, the kind where he spent his days playing tennis and writing the memoir that would make him a global celebrity. I mean, just look at this timeline. It is absolutely astounding. After his arrest and that ridiculously short sentence, he doesn't just fade away. He leans into it. He leverages his own crimes, publishes a best-selling book that gets turned into a huge blockbuster movie. And today he's a motivational speaker. He's literally teaching other people the secrets to success. He didn't just rebrand himself, he actually monetized his felony. And this right here, this is the whole story in a nutshell. On one side, you have Jordan Belfort, who becomes a pop culture icon, and on the other side, his victims, the people who lost everything. Their life savings, their retirement funds, they even remortgaged their homes. While he was cashing checks from Hollywood, they were dealing with absolute financial ruin. And here's the kicker. To this day, he's only paid back a tiny fraction of that $110 million he was ordered to.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most unsettling question. See, Belfort's story isn't really just about greed. It's about us. Why are we so fascinated by these kinds of characters? Why do we applaud the charismatic outlaw, even when we know the real-world damage they caused? What does it say about all of us that we were so willing to watch the wolf, and maybe, just maybe, even cheer him on?